said that the reptilians feel somewhat slighted because we have that wiring in our brains that causes us to immediately go into fear when we're around reptiles or reptilians. And I seem to be the only person who remembers you saying that. And then I thought, well, maybe I dreamt it. So could you please tell me whether or not that's true? Thank you so much.
Yes. Your reaction to the vibration of the reptilians causes a reaction in them that makes some of them not necessarily care for humanity very much because of humanity's reaction in the primitive brain of humanity, in the mammalian brain of humanity, to the idea of a reptile. So you're kind of at odds with one another. Not all reptilians feel the same way. Most of them actually ignore humanity. But there are those who have a little bit of a resentment toward humanity because of humanity's reaction to them. They feel slighted in that sense. Good day, good day.
How are you doing?
Perfect, and you?
Good. I wanted to ask you, what is the secret of the universe?
That you are completely empowered, that you have the greatest power to choose, that you determine your life path, that you create your reality, that you are an aspect of all that is, experiencing itself through what appears to be an aspect of itself.
Okay. I understand. How do I activate the dormant abilities in my heart?
By following the formula.
Is this the only way?
It is not the only way, but it is the way that is most efficient, which is why we give it to you, so you don't have to overthink it or overcomplicate it. It includes every possible process that you have decided to experience on your life path. So if you want to be efficient, use the formula. If you want to take a longer route, that's up to you.
No, I'll skip the longer route.
All right.
1 second. Who was the person in my room not too long ago? I think it was an ET, but I'm not sure.
What did you experience?
There was a person next to me, and they were making eye contact with me, and suddenly, like, I sort of blacked out for a minute.
It may have been an ET connection, but it also may have been a member of your soul family.
Okay. I just didn't recognize that type of physique. It didn't seem human to me.
Well, remember that spirits are not any longer human, and they will take different forms that are necessary to perhaps reach you in the state that you're in. And there can be distortions of your perception of what they actually are because of the difference between their vibration and yours.
Oh, okay, so my mind can create this mask of what they are in my mind?
Yes, because of what it is you believe that you would experience when exposed to that energy. Whatever it is that needs to be a symbol that helps you realize that something is attempting to connect to you, to contact you, to get a message through, to say, I am here, and allow you to interpret it in whatever way makes sense to your physical mind.
Okay. What are the ships that are near my house that consistently seem to fly there?
Well, there are different ones at different times. There's a lot of traffic around your planet, but the vast majority of them are probably Pleiadian.
Are they trying to get my attention, or are they just doing what they're doing?
Well, it's not so much that they're trying to get your attention. They are observing whether or not you are able to pay attention to the fact that they're there.
Okay. How would I know, per se, if I was in my room, if they were telepathically contacting me?
It would be obvious. You wouldn't even have to ask the question.
Okay.
Is it obvious that I am speaking to you now?
Yeah, it's pretty clear.
It would be that obvious.
Okay, I understand. Um, how do I get specific entities to stop touching me?
Why do you believe that entities are touching you?
I feel something touching me.
Can they not be members of your soul family reaching out to you to let you know they are there?
I don't think so.
Why don't you think so?
It doesn't feel very positive to me.
What is it that you are afraid of in life?
Um, I guess just being myself to the fullest extent.
And why is that something you are afraid of? What do you think will happen if you are yourself to the fullest extent?
I guess in the past, where tried, especially when I was a child, there was a lot of negativity.
All right. But that's what's touching you, is your own negativity. It's attempting from your soul family to point out that you still have these fears and haven't yet let them go. Nothing bad will happen if you are your true self. That's just the negative and fear-based belief telling you a story to prevent you from letting it go and moving forward. So in a sense, the touching is to point out that you still have fears, and that's why it's uncomfortable for you. They're attempting to get you to face those fears and let them go. They're pointing them out to you. So if you want them to stop touching you, you have to let go of your fears.
Okay.
Then they will have no reason to point them out to you.
Is there a different way that they can point that out to me?
It's being done out of love. It's your life path. You ask them to remind you that you have these fears and this is your challenge, and that you ask them to help you get in touch with them so that you could find out what these belief systems are that don't work for you and let them go. So they're just doing what you ask them to do. You just don't remember that.
Okay. I'm going to have to process that, but that's all I had to ask you.
All right. Then sweet dreams to you.
Thank you. And thanks so much.
You are welcome.
Hello again, Bashar. Gunnar calling from Norway again. I have a question for you. First of all, thank you for all the fantastic information that you give us. I have a question. I have a daughter which is 16 years old, and she is a very independent young lady. She has her own opinion and is sometimes I wonder if she is from another planet or is she, or am I just imagining it? Okay, bye-bye. Thank you for all the good stuff you gave us. Bye.
She is not from another planet, but you all have connections to other civilizations. So the idea is that you may be picking up on the fact that being a member of a new generation that is literally a new species with slightly different DNA, she feels like an alien or an ET. But she is an accelerated human with more evidence energetically of her connections to other extraterrestrial civilizations. But this is what the future human is all about.
Hi, Bashar.
And to you, good day.
Special Valentine's greetings to you since we're in our month of February.
All right. Happy Valentine's to you as well.
I'd like to discuss an experience that I had recently.
Yes.
It was early October last year, very early morning, sometime around 3 a.m. I had gotten out of bed and wandered into my bathroom. I just sort of stood there for a moment. I was listening near the bathroom door, and it was like I was in a trance. And then I noticed something in the hallway just outside the bathroom door. It was only 2 or 3 feet away from me. It looked like a little cloud of swirling greenish mist. And I seemed to sense just the most vague outline of a humanoid figure, maybe just
Yes.
barely 5 feet tall. And I spoke to him and stepped towards him. I held out my arms. And then I felt a very strong, quite lovely sensation entering the top of my head. It was pleasantly overwhelming. I felt like I was being swept up. And the next thing I knew, I was laying in bed. The moment I realized I was back in my bed, the quality of the experience felt more like my normal reality. And the being was still with me at my bedside. He said something to me. I couldn't make out what he was saying because his voice sounded garbled. I was not able to clearly see him. I could only hear and feel his presence. I felt some more strong sensations in my energy field, not unpleasant. I said a few words to him and then he left.
Yes.
And I would like to know, the first portion of the experience had a different quality than the second portion. It was more trance-like. What caused the trance-like state that I experienced at first?
Exposure to a higher frequency vibration. It is kind of a reset that you asked for and were given. It kind of resets you to put you on your path a little bit more clearly.
And was I caused to enter that state, or did I cause myself to enter that state?
Well, both. You asked for assistance, it was given.
Why did the being appear as a mist, and why was the mist greenish in color?
Has to do with the heart, the opening of the heart. Again, an interpretation in your physical reality of the energy that you were interacting with, the consciousness you were interacting with. Remember that things coming from one dimension, one reality to another, as an apparition, are not always solid looking. They may maintain themselves to a higher frequency, which doesn't necessarily allow them to coalesce into something that you would recognize as physical, because it doesn't serve the purpose to do so. They can distribute energy to you more efficiently by remaining a little bit closer to their natural, non-physical, energetic state.
What exactly caused the strong sensations in my energy field, and how am I able to experience sensations outside my physical body since I don't have any nerves there?
It's not about nerves. It's about the fact that your soul, in a sense, extends beyond your body. Your electric field extends beyond your body. It's about the idea of your electric field matching the frequency of what you are being offered by another being. So there is contact before there is contact. There is a lot of contact vibrationally and energetically before anything ever touches your physical form.
Was my response to the being unexpected? Was the being surprised that I noticed him?
Not surprised, but delighted.
And if I had not spoken to him and held out my arms, would he have interacted with me?
Probably would have backed off until you were more ready.
What caused the gap in my memory, and what happened during the gap?
Again, this is about the idea of resetting your energy, resetting your consciousness to make your path a little bit more clear to you as you move forward in life. The idea of forgetting is so that you can focus on your life rather than remember the incident per se.
When I was placed back in my bed and the being spoke to me, why did his voice, well, you kind of explained this before.
Yes, coming
why
through
did
a different dimensional level, it's not necessarily going to sound clear to your physical mind. It's going to appear garbled because it's coming from another level. Imagine if someone was speaking to you from underwater. It wouldn't sound clear because there's a density difference between your reality in the air and the reality in the water. So, similar idea.
Can you tell me what he said to me?
He told you to go to sleep now, absorb what you have been taught, and wake up refreshed and as a new person, knowing that your path is clearer for you in the way ahead. You are surrounded by love. You are helped by guides. You are never alone. Know that and take that into your heart. Move forward in your life.
The being
doing a good
interacted
job.
with my energy field a couple more
You're
times just
doing,
before.
you're doing a good job. And thank you for the job that you are doing, was the rest of the message.
I see. And when he touched my energy field a couple more times just before he left, why did he do this?
Just checking to make sure everything was balanced properly. Kind of like a little checkup. Okay, that went well.
And so, was there something specific he was looking for in the interaction? Any more reason as to why he came at my request?
Well, on a different level, yes. And again, knowing that that being is doing its job well as well, being a guide for you. So that's what that being is getting out of it. The joy and the happiness and the fulfillment of being a guide for you in a way that works for you.
I get the sense he's not an ET, so
Not
he's
exactly,
not.
no. There's a lot of similarity between the idea of spirits and ETs on a certain level. Hard to tell the difference at that level, but no, not exactly. It's more the idea of a guide.
So there's no civilization that he's coming from, or...
Well, if you want to call the spirit realm a civilization, you can.
I see.
Because it is its own reality. It is its own realm. It is its own world.
Does this being have a name or a symbol that can act as a phone number?
Well, the idea of the green mist can be that way if you want to hold the imagination and the visualization of it. That can act as a connecting symbol.
I understand.
Or if you wish, the image of a green heart.
Thank you. Bashar, I want to thank you for connecting with me today.
It is our passion and our pleasure and probably the result of the interaction you had with that other being.
Understood. Thank you.
Aveo.
Bye.
Hi, Bashar and Daryl. My name is Angela, and I am 46. I'm from Wilmington, Delaware. And when I was a child, about 5 years old, I had a very frightening experience in my second floor bathroom. I was answering the call of nature, and when I was finished, I stood up and I looked out my window, and there was a being on the other side looking at me, and it was very terrifying for me as a little kid. The color of their skin was green, but I don't remember which shade. And the first thought in my mind was this was some kind of goblin. I shut my eyes very tight, and when I looked again, it was gone. It was very vivid. It was not my imagination, and I never told anybody about it because I didn't think anybody would believe me. I'd really appreciate if you could tell me who or what that being was. Thank you so much.
It was a type of extraterrestrial that is relatively rare in terms of its visitations to your planet. We cannot necessarily go into a lot of detail about that particular extraterrestrial species at this time. They will eventually be introduced to your society when open contact occurs. But there are those who from time to time will visit Earth and sort of observe and peer in to understand humanity. And they will be attracted sometimes to the idea of children because children are so open energetically and consciously to the idea of other dimensions and other realms.
Higher self, or can they just be reflections of our own limiting belief and not so much guidance as reflections of our fears and limitations?
It can be either, but again, it depends upon what the symbols mean to you. You can use them in a positive or a negative way. You can say, I keep seeing this, and therefore it's reflective of the fact that I'm focusing on this particular negative belief. Or you can also say, I keep seeing this, and it's reflective of the fact that I'm focusing on a particular positive belief. It depends on how you use it. Synchronicity itself is relatively neutral. It depends on how you use it and what it means to you, what it reflects to you.
So the idea that you could get excited about any synchronicity allows it to be a trigger for being in a positive state, because suddenly you recognize that everything is one, everything is orchestrated in some way.
Yes.
It-
And it brings your attention to what you need to pay attention to, whether positive or negative beliefs within yourself.
Now, this person is saying that they find themselves attached to their desires, following the excitement, but instead of trusting and releasing them, they attach to them, try to control them. As you know, this doesn't work very well for them. So, how can they reach new levels of trust and allow themselves to surrender?
Well, again, you have to stop thinking that your physical mind knows what's best all the time. It doesn't. You have to understand that holding on to a particular outcome, insisting on a particular outcome, is a limitation on what could possibly happen that would be even better. So you have to give up the idea that your physical mind knows what the ideal outcome absolutely always should be. You have to let go and let yourself know that you're imposing limitations on yourself that you don't need to impose. Even though it may seem as if I'm controlling this to make sure it comes out to be the best, that's the opposite of what you're doing by insisting on a particular outcome. You're actually limiting yourself from experiencing what you could be experiencing. So when that finally sinks in, you'll stop doing it. Unless you really prefer to keep limiting yourself. That's okay, if that's your path. But I think you sound like you're tired of it.
You have said that the soul is driving the car and the ego has a wheel that is not connected to anything.
I didn't
You've
say that.
also
I didn't
okay.
say that.
All right. Well, then
Again,
this
the
question is
ego
probably
serves the
not very
purpose.
good.
The ego serves the purpose of allowing you to experience physical reality in a clear and precise way. But that's its job. It doesn't mean it's not connected to anything. It simply means it's not supposed to be steering the car to where you wish to go. It's just supposed to help you see where it is that the car has gone after you have steered it with the idea of acting on your passion, which is following the directions of your higher mind.
And this last sentence in their question was, you will discover that you've said you will discover that you have been in control this whole time.
From the higher level, yes.
So that analogy of driving the car versus realizing that at another level you're in control. So it's not that you're in control per se at this level, except for how you respond to everything that happens.
Exactly. You are in control of your reactions and responses. You have the free will to decide how you will experience the idea of the life path that you have laid out from a higher level.
And this person had a huge awakening journey and found integration back into 3D world of Earth very difficult. They felt very lonely walking their path. Any advice for that?
The whole idea when you have a higher level vibrational experience is to bring that down to earth, not feel that you are missing something, but that you have been given a great and beautiful opportunity to know what that vibration can be like when you bring it down to earth through the actions of serving humanity by following your passion. So it's not there to make you feel alone. It's there to make you realize you are all one, and to bring that vibration and the opportunity to experience that high vibration to others as well through the work that you do in service to humanity by acting on your passion.
Okay. And is life more like a single player or a multi-player game? Is free will also orchestrated?
Your free will is your free will in terms of the freedom to, within the overall agreement, the collective agreement, the freedom to be the individual that you chose to be. the freedom to learn the lessons that you chose to learn in whatever way you wish to, or ignoring them completely. So you have a great degree of freedom within the game, within the rules you have agreed to play, and there are individual levels of agreement as well as collective levels of agreement. So again, we use the analogy of a game of chess. You have agreed to a play by the rules of chess, but the strategy you use is up to your free will. The kind of pieces you use and what they're made of is up to your free will. But you have to follow the rules of chess, otherwise you're not playing by the rules of chess. You're playing a different game. So yes, there are collective agreements, but you have a great degree of freedom within that to be yourself in how you play the game. Play fast, play slow, play openly, play sneaky. It's up to you.
Next question. Are we and our loved ones really all our own unique souls that continue to exist in spirit after death? Or is it just like waves disappearing back into the ocean, so to speak?
You all still exist. You always will still exist, even though you know you belong to a greater ocean. So the drops in the ocean never disappear, even though they know that they are drops in the ocean. They are still drops. Remember, it's this and that, not this or that, not one or the other. It's both.
And can a place where you live in not want you there anymore?
No. You can make it seem as if it doesn't want you by amping your vibes to the point where you color the vibration of the location to push you out of it because you're the one that doesn't want to be there anymore. And you're simply projecting that on the location to make it seem as if the location is pushing you out, but you're the one doing it. So a location can become vibrationally incompatible to you, but that doesn't mean it wants you to leave. It's simply reflecting what you're giving off, that you want yourself to move.
And what role will Bashar and Daryl have post 2030? Will Daryl ever finally get to meet you face to face?
Yes, and that's all we will say about that at this time.
Okay. And how old are you for this particular transmission?
Somewhere between 137 and 157, depending upon the question.
And do you stay in your ship above Sedona, or do you go back and forth to Essassani, or are you able to be in two places at once?
It's not so much being in two places at once, but I'm able to go back and forth without you necessarily noticing, because time for me is not what it is for you.
And you never sleep, right?
No.
But you rest.
We can rest.
Or when you're in a state of repose, is that a state of resting?
Kind of. Or a state of activity in a different way, on a different level.
So that is one piece of furniture that we would see in spaceships, chairs?
When they are necessary, they will extrude from the floor. When they're no longer necessary, they will dissolve back into the floor or the wall. At least in our ships.
And your demeanor translates through the channel in tone of voice, facial expressions, and physical gestures. However, when you laugh, your laughter does not translate through the channel, and you will tell us, one moment we are laughing. I'm just curious about why your laughter does not translate through the channel. Can you explain?
Yes, we have explained this before. Perhaps you have missed it. But a full body laugh will disconnect us from the channel, because the channel will then withdraw within himself, because laughter is very centralizing. And therefore, in a sense, it will wake the channel up.
Do members of your species ever get the giggles?
We laugh a lot.
And are we your favorite laughter stimulator?
Certainly you are one of them.
What other things do you encounter that
That's
make you laugh?
enough for now.
Okay. Um, How are the hybrid children birthed? Are they physically carried like human fetuses? And how is the human DNA connected to create hybrid children?
I believe that many of you already understand that sometimes the fetus can be carried for a small length of time by the human female and then removed and placed in what you might call a maturation chamber, taken to full term from DNA that was collected and harvested in what you typically refer to as the abduction phenomenology.
And will some forces of nature change on planet Earth upon open contact? For example, will the regions of the poles become less magnetic, or will gravity even become lighter?
These things have absolutely nothing at all to do with open contact. No.
Okay, and um, 1 second here. Seem to want to move. Um, can you elaborate more on the hive mind spectrum that different civilizations choose? Like, what is the difference in a negative hive mind spectrum that the Greys adopted from a positive hive mind spectrum where we are headed towards?
Who says that the Greys are exhibiting a negative hive mind? This is a
Well, with
misunderstanding. If you mean that they adopted the idea of the hive mind because of certain other negative activities, and therefore the hive mind is what they needed to do to save themselves, that's a different issue if that's what you mean. We will
and
not
is
necessarily address further details of this right now. It will go into too lengthy of an explanation.
okay. And is there such a thing as star seeds?
Yes, of course, but star seeds are simply each and every single one of you who understands that you are here by choice participating in the evolution of humanity. So you're all star seeds in that context.
Okay. And some teachings talk about how this world is totally neutral or doesn't have inherent meaning, and that we are the ones that give it meaning with our thoughts and beliefs. But you've also seen things in this world that have their own properties too, like some foods seem to be healthy, some substances seem to do certain things, etc. Can you help clarify this? Is everything neutral outside of our perception, or do things have their own vibrations and properties only?
When things seem to have
Alone.
their own built-in meanings, it's because of the collective agreement, so you don't have to think about it. It doesn't mean that it always works for every individual. There can be some exceptions depending on your life path. But those things that seem kind of automatically built in are simply usually the result of the collective agreement so that you don't have to always think about it. So things that you have collectively said, well, this is generally a healthy thing to do, are simply put there by the collective. So again, you don't have to constantly reinforce that idea. You simply accept it as a given for most people on your planet. You also know that there can be exceptions depending upon what a person has chosen for their individual life path. So it just depends. But yes, it's all neutral to begin with, and the collective agreement may make some things seem to have built-in meaning, but that's just because of the collective agreement. They can be superseded by some people if that's part of their life path to do so.
Okay. And is there a cosmic battle going on between negative ETs and good ETs?
No,
Okay. And I guess I'll find the last question here. Um, This person is asking about time and progression. From what they understand, it can take hundreds, if not thousands, of years to progress from one density to the next. If we are all timeless beings, how is it that some beings like yourself have evolved so much farther than us? Is existence one endless loop that once we become one with Source, again we start all over?
it's not quite the way that you're depicting this. And again, remember, you experience time by definition. in physical reality to experience growth and expansion in a certain way. And certain cycles can make things take a long time, depending upon the processes that are necessary, in which a group of individual souls has decided to band together to evolve. We have had a head start. We are a physical race that is artificial and therefore have been given a head start, which is why we are more advanced than you are. We didn't start from scratch, so to speak, in the way that our souls progress. But the idea in general is that, yes, you're timeless beings, but not in terms of physical beings. In physicality, you experience time, and therefore, in time, you experience evolution, and therefore, you experience cycles and timing and things like that. You are only timeless when you're non-physical.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you so much for all this information. I hope everyone found it beneficial and expansive, and we really appreciate it.
It is our passion and our pleasure and our deep appreciation and unconditional love to all of you. Allow yourselves now to move forward and become relaxed. Enjoy.